Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to introduce to you now. Les Lyons, who will turn 73 in September of 2024, has served 28 years in the Army, specializing in airborne, infantry, pathfinder, and chemical officer roles. He retired as a lieutenant colonel in 2002 after primarily serving in the National Guard and Army Reserves. In addition to his military career, he has enjoyed a successful sales and management career in the business world for nearly 50 years, including 20 years at Xerox and various other large companies. He also ventured into startup companies, although they were not as successful. Climbing the corporate ladder, he eventually held the position of corporate VP of sales at several large companies toward the end of his career, but his eating and sleeping habits suffered as a result. Over the past 25 years, he has experimented with numerous diets, experiencing temporary weight loss, followed by weight gain, and even adding a few pounds to the original total. Eventually, Les found better information, and through low carbohydrate and carnivore diets, he was able to completely transform his health. He is the creator of his brand, Kicking Ass After 70, and seeks to help people along their own journeys to better health and wellness in body, mind, and spirit. Les Lyons, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you to Boundless Body Radio.
Thanks, Casey. Happy to be here.
I am introducing you as a new guest to our show, but actually you have been on our show before in a composite episode that we made that just was released a few weeks ago, all about our experience at the Collaborative Science Conference in Las Vegas. So you technically you're a returning guest. You've been on our show before. I thought your story was so compelling. I just couldn't wait to get you back on to investigate the full story and give it the time that it needs. But before we do, if you don't mind, tell us about the experience of you being at the conference in Las Vegas.
It was amazing. I had a lot of trepidation in going there because I thought there's going to be all these brainiacs there, these MDs and PhDs, and Les, who has had like no biology and no training in this area, isn't going to understand 20% of what it was. And yet I met people like you. The most impactful thing was just the relationships that I developed over that 3 days with the people that I met. And the conference was amazing. Dave did such a phenomenal job of going from speaker to speaker to speaker. And I mean, when somebody was off, he got the hook, pulled them off, put the next one on, read a note card, one page, boom, and they were live. So we got a bunch of speakers in that 2 days. And I actually understood probably about 70 to 80% of what they said. There's 20% that went right over my head, but that's all right. I recorded them all. I got pictures of all the slides, so I'm going to go back and educate myself. It was a phenomenal conference. I can't wait for next year.
That's amazing. That's so cool to think back that when we had our first chat, so we did two parts, right? We did the beginning part where you and I met for the first time. We hadn't met in person at all. I just wanted to gather, like, what did you think this was going to be? What are your expectations? Then we had our second chat.
Sure.
That was like, how did it actually go? And in the first chat, you said, I'm expecting to be way out of my league. I might only understand 20%. I think 80% is going to be over my head. You said that was the inverse. It was flipped. How do you feel about being able to hang with a lot of that stuff?
Well, I feel like I've done a lot of reading, number one. Number two, I bought a lot of books and done more reading. And number three, I've watched a lot of videos and I've got a lot more reading to do. But I love it. This is like they say, to not get old, and I'm paraphrasing, to not get old, repurpose yourself. When you retire, repurpose yourself. Find a new venue. Find a new something that you're passionate about. And I did. I once I changed my life, I became passionate about this whole thing, and that's why I call it Kicking Ass After 70, because it's overwhelming. It's like putting your head under a waterfall, man. I got to figure out how to do a YouTube studio. I got to figure out what cameras to buy. I got to figure out ring lights that you and I were just talking about. I got to figure out my website. I was going like, what's an SEO? When somebody said, you need to make sure you're focused on SEO. So I went, what the heck is that? And then interviewing people and then reading the books and watching the videos. And it's just, but I feel more lively than a wild Mustang in the springtime. It is great.
That's amazing. I love that. I can so much relate to that. I've been personal training and doing nutrition coaching for 17 years now in my career. And
wow.
I still bounce out of bed every single day when this topic first kind of appeared and was like, fat is okay for you. And, maybe plants aren't as good for you as we once thought, and the story around cholesterol, all these things. When this thing grabs you, I can so relate to like you are constantly reading, you're constantly listening. These are all the books and podcasts and everything that I do, basically from the time that I wake up until the time that I go to bed, save a little bit of time I give myself in the afternoon to like watch Formula One or hockey videos or something. You know what I mean? Like the whole rest of my life has been about this and around this, and I don't ever get sick of it. There's always more to learn.
That's me. Absolutely.
Totally tell.
But 15 years, you must have started when you were 12 or something.
Man, I'm not a new kid on the block. We'll just say that.
You're very young looking.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I do have to say that I've been to several of these conferences now. I love them all. They're all unique. They're all different. One thing that I have to say, and I'd love to get your answer since this was the first one, I was so impressed with people like you and the people in the audience. This is lay public. Even some of the presenters, like we said, were lay public people. They were not necessarily doctors. They were just telling stories, making presentations. I was so impressed with the level of knowledge that the attendees, the lay public, had coming to this type of conference. The questions they asked, the things they comprehended about subfractions of cholesterol. I was blown away by how smart that crowd was.
Well, some of the people that I know from the PhD community, like Sherry and Paola, and Roxana and Alyssa and some of the others, they're like talking about all this. Oh, did you hear him say blah 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 blah? And I'm going, because I'm going like, holy cow, they know a lot of stuff. But again, I've been involved in this in the community and really the learning for about 7 or 8 months, and some of them have been in it for years. So give me some years. I'll be there.
Wait, if you were able to hang at that conference with anything near an 80% comprehension, I'd say that puts you probably above most doctors as far as knowledge on this topic.
Wow.
Like, I know it's a strong statement, but I would definitely say that. And yeah, it was such a joy to be around everybody. I'm sure you've gone to other conferences in, the business world and everything that you've been involved with the military. I'm sure you've gone and traveled to places like this and got people together. And I'm very willing to say it's very different in something like this when you get a group of people together that have transformed their lives, their health, the health of their families versus just whatever, other conferences you've been to. Different vibe.
Totally agreed. It's amazing. And it's so, I don't even know what the word is, motivational, just hearing some of these people and their stories. And it's like, everybody was like overweight, all kinds of health problems, just this and that. I mean, you name it, and it was there in the room, whether it be high blood pressure, heart problems, cholesterol, everything, and skin problems, and like all of that's been changed. And it's like amazing to look at them now, especially when they show you their before pictures and go, holy cow. And that was a big motivator for me to, I turned my life around. I can show other people. I'm not a medical doctor. I've got no formal training, but what I do is great job of research. So I can research all this out, separate the BS and throw it away and save the good stuff that, just like this article that came out recently on, fasting's not good for you and stuff like that. Well, if you read through it, it's total BS. So you just take that, don't put it on your website or YouTube channel, throw it away, and put stuff on there that people can relate to. Put stuff on there by Dr. Jason Fung and Dr. William Davis and Ken Berry and all the others that have great stuff. And so when people come, you can just send them to what they need. And I just feel like that's a calling I've got from God to take my abilities, because I can't sing, I can't play a musical instrument, other things, but God has given me abilities to organize, to plan, to implement, to research, and separate the BS from the wheat from the chaff. There we go. That's the way I should say it. And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, you are very good.
And I'm going to do that for the next 70 years.
Good. Good. Yeah, you are very, very good at that. And I do have to thank you personally. When you sent me the original document that showed me your before and after pictures and that you started, around age 70 trying to transform your health, it was very soon after that one of my clients said, it's just really tough when you're older. Like, he's in his 60s and he kind of said this, like, yeah, it's easier when you're young. You're only 40 years old, but like when you get to my age, it's a lot harder. And I was like, let me just pull up my phone and open this attachment attachment and just show you this guy started in his 70s. So it's
Cool.
not impossible. You're already inspiring some of my clients. So that already have to give you thank you for that. But let's talk about your story. We queued it up a little bit with the introduction. How did you get to the point of such poor health? I mean, was it just getting wrapped up in all the busyness of your career? And like we said in the introduction, like trying to climb that corporate ladder. How was the view from that top of the corporate ladder?
It sucks. Um, there is so much politics. I naively thought, hey, I climbed to the top. I never wanted to be a CEO, but like I was in sales. So I said, okay, I want to be the corporate VP of sales for these companies because A, I can lead a sales force. B, I can teach them what to do and what not to do. And I said, it will be great. And I get to the top and I was on the staff of the CEO of several companies. So it was the CEO, and I was a C-level officer. I was a corporate VP of sales and sometimes marketing. And it was horrible because there's so much politics and backbiting, and people look at the CEO and go, "Well, what do you think?" And he tells somebody, "Yeah, well, we think that too." And I'm going, "I don't," and stuff. And people look at me like, that's a career limiting move saying that. They're just a bunch of kiss butt yes men and women sometimes. And I was very disillusioned when I got to the top, but that whole time, not so much in the military, there's some of that goes on, but especially in the civilian world, the commercial world. And I got to the top, was there for a while, made great bucks. But you know what? Money is not everything. People go, yeah, 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 but I'd like to have it just to see what it'd be like. It's like, okay, been there, done that. I was never a multimillionaire, but I earned several $100,000 a year, let's just say. And it was great. But guess what? I spent it on airplanes and in hotel rooms and in restaurants at night, eating crap food, driving 70 miles an hour down the highway with a Whataburger or a Big Mac or something like that, and fries and a strawberry malt, and just ruining my health. And at night, I'd get 4.5, 5 hours of sleep and got to go the next day because, at night, you got to go to the dinners. You got to have these big dinners that are full of carbs and full of booze. So you're about half lit by the time you get to your room, which usually is about midnight because after the dinner's over, you got to stick around with everybody in the bar and socialize. And now you're down to 4.5, 5 hours of sleep. And the motto in that industry, well, the whole civilian industry is you got to learn to play hurt. So
Mm.
it's like, okay, you get drunk, you have a hangover the next day, but you got to get up and hit it. You got to play hurt. Okay, I learned how to play hurt, but guess what? It ruined my life. It ruined my health. And I was overweight. My fat content was through the roof. I was considered obese. Um, and I just starting at about 69 or 70, my body just started going, I quit. And I started having uh well, I'd had skin problems for years. My legs used to itch so bad that I'd scratch them until they bled. And I went to probably 18 dermatologists over 30 years, and all of them did all these skin testing and seeing if I was allergic to anything. And basically they go, oh, you just have dry skin. You need to put more moisture on it. And don't take hot showers and all this other stuff that nothing worked. So I had all that going on. I had high blood pressure. I was overweight, as I said. I had all of these issues, and it finally got to the point. My knees were about to go out on me, and my doctor took X-rays, goes, "Yep, you got arthritis in both your knees, so I can give you a pain med for it, but unless you're ready to have a knee replacement right now," I went, "Not a freaking chance." He goes, "Well, then you're just going to have to learn to live with it and go on." And then I got back problems and lower back problems. And finally they finally did an MRI and they go, oh, you got lower spinal stenosis. So we're going to send you to a spine expert. So I went to the spine expert and he goes, hey, you got lower spinal stenosis and we can either operate, which I don't recommend, or you can just learn to curb your activities because you're at that age where you need to start slowing down and all this kind of stuff. And I went, I don't want to slow down. And he go, well, I'm going to put you on a couple of meds, give you some pain pills and stuff like that. And I said, I don't want that. And he goes, well, there's not really anything I can do for you. So that's where I was at. And the pain got so bad in my lower back and in my two knees that Casey, I could barely walk. In fact, I went out and I bought this cane. Of course, I bought a good one. I bought it from a self-defense supply company. So this I can whack somebody and it's not going to bend or anything. But I bought that cane, and that was the watershed event in my life. That's when I said, this is total BS. I said, you used to be the epitome of health. You used to, win the low crawl contest and going over the obstacle courses in the army and all this kind of stuff. And you did all this stuff. And man, you used to be a hard charger, a kick butt kind of guy. And now look at you. You're a fat, old, broken down slob. And you're not supposed to use that kind of self-talk on yourself, but it works for me because of my military background. And the cane was the watershed event because I said, I was embarrassed. Even though I was 70 at the time, almost 71, I was embarrassed because I was like, I'm not going to go around using a freaking cane. That's for old people. And I never, and still don't see myself as an old person. So I said, I'm going to figure out a way to fix myself. But that was the watershed event. So people say you have to have a big, I know I'm running at 100 miles an hour, but people say you have to have a big why, WHY, big why in your life. Why are you doing this? You don't lose weight because I want to lose 30 pounds. You lose weight because I'm obese and it's going to lead to diabetes, or it's already led to diabetes, or I'm pre-diabetic. You lose weight because you don't like the way you look in your clothes and your self-esteem is really suffering or whatever. But you have to have a why. And my why, that's my why right here. My why was I am not going to use a cane, and I am not going to be an old fart walking around with this cane and just breaking down and hoping, praying that I'm going to make it to 80.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so let's not call it a cane. Let's call it a person whacker. I like that a little bit better. But
I do too.
That's a good
I still
call.
have it, and I'm going to keep it.
There you go. Exactly. Okay, so are we calling
It's a bad guy? It's not a person whacker.
There we
it's
go.
A bad guy whacker.
Bad guy whacker. Exactly. Okay, perfect. So we're considering this the rock bottom of our story, correct? Like this is where things got as bad as possible. Okay. In the introduction, we made sure to mention body, mind, and spirit. I know this is a really big thing in the way you separate these out, and I've been so impressed with the documentation that you sent me with kind of like reporting on all of these things. So maybe this would be a good time to wallow around and rock bottom for a minute. Let's separate those things. You've already mentioned a lot of things going on with your body. Was there anything else that was like really ailing you as far as your body goes? And then let's talk about also mind and spirit. Where were you in all of those kind of buckets?
Yeah, great. I'm going to glance down because I've taken notes to because I tend to go off on rabbit trails, so I'm going to keep myself on track. But yeah, my weight, I'm 6'1". My weight was 238 pounds. I was wearing a size 40 pant, which is a fat boy pant. I was 32.5% body fat, which is technically classified as obese. And my doctor 6 months earlier had rated me or whatever, diagnosed me as pre-diabetic. So that was that piece of it. My shirts, I graduated to a 2XL. That's a double extra large to hide my gut. And it just swamped me in the shoulders and stuff. But my gut was taking care of that 2XL. I could barely bend over and put on socks. And I certainly couldn't lift my leg to dry my leg when I got out of the shower, or to put on socks and shoes and stuff like that. Constantly hungry, always snacking. I've talked about before. My two nemesis, whatever pronunciation is Cheez-Its and homemade vanilla strawberry ice cream. And you give me a box of Cheez-Its and my mind goes, okay, you look on the back and you say a serving is 18 crackers and you're going to get this, 110 calories, but don't even look at the carb grams. I'd sit there and eat the whole freaking box. So I'd eat like 20 or 30 servings. And then I'd go, oh man, that was good. And same thing on ice cream. I'll make this half-gallon ice cream last a week. It lasts me 2 nights. So that's the body stuff. Without getting into grossness, I had lots of belching and passing gas that smelled really nasty and stuff like that. And I had what's it call it when you have it? Acid reflux. I had that. And I did no intermittent fasting. I said that's for those tree huggers and people like that that talk about doing the fasting and all that kind of thing. Um, High blood pressure, I already said. Knees, back pain, heart. I was diagnosed in August of 22, just about the same time, as having supraventricular tachycardia, SVT, and I had no clue what that was. Well, I found out real quick. Got put on two meds. My cholesterol was high. I got put on two meds and a statin for my heart, my SVT, and my cholesterol. So I was, I think, at 11 medications, something like that at the time. So that's probably enough about. But my triglycerides were low, and my HDL was high.
Hmm.
So when you read, you go, "Hey, man," the doctor said, "Well, your triglyceride, your LDL is a little high, but you have really high HDL, so that offsets it, so you're good." And that was my normal doctor, but for the SVT, I was taking stuff. In terms of mind, I there's a couple personal things I don't want to get into, but I was always the devil's advocate. You know, you'd say something to me, and the engineer in me would go, "Yeah, but if you're going to do that, you got to think about this, this, and this." And I'd talk about the things that are going to throw you awry. So basically, I'd rain on your parade. And I got the nickname Negative Nancy because of just my attitudes. And I go, "Hey, I'm not negative. I'm giving you the fact. You're all that." I've got a really good friend named Rick. And Rick would come in, "Oh, you can make $1 million doing this." And da-da-da. He'd tell me all the stuff and everything. I'd listen and go, "Yeah, I know Rick. I know Rick. He's the master of hyperbole." And then I'd wait for him to finish and I'd go, "So what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this?" And he wouldn't have good, tight answers to all of that. And I'm going, "Rick, how do you expect to do this and make a ton of money if you don't know all this stuff that negative that could happen?" Because in when I was getting my MBA, it's like, all right, you got to go down the path of what's your projected outcome that you believe, and then what's the upside to that, and what's the downside to that. So it looked like this, like that, with a line in the middle. That was your expected outcome, but then you could go as high as this or as low as this. The problem is a lot of times the high isn't really high off the line, but the low is really low off the line, and you could be really negative. So because I found most people, when they're doing something new, they focus on the high, and they kind of downplay the low. So I felt that was my job. So that was my mind. And I, I watched a ton of TV. I was a TV addict, man. All the new shows, whether it be Yellowstone or 1883 or whatever it might be, man, I was there. I was watching them all. "Oh, did you see this week? And so and so and such and such." I cannot tell you, Casey, the tens of thousands of hours over my lifetime that I invested in TV. And I look back now and go, I could freaking have my MD and PhD and everything else and this whole area of nutrition if I just gotten off my ass and done something with my spare time rather than watching TV. But at the end of the day, you're rushed, you're tired, you're overweight, you're this and that, and you just want to get a beer, sit down on the couch, drink a beer or two, and watch TV. A lot of people watch sports and stuff. My deal was watching all the serials.
Yeah,
So,
got it.
so that was the mind part. And the spirit part, I've been a Christian since I was a little boy, taken to church, a Baptist church I grew up in. Um, that didn't work real well with me. I'm now Bible church, non-denominational, but I grew up. I became a Christian when I was probably about 12, but I did it on faith, and I didn't really focus on, well, what's God all about, and what's Jesus and the Holy Spirit all about, and how does it all work together, and I didn't explore that. I was what I call a Sunday morning Christian, a pew potato, as some people call it. I'd go to church Sunday morning, sit for an hour, hour and a half. Man, when the preacher's getting up there to about 12, everybody's looking at their watch going, "Hey, man, it's almost been an hour. We need to get out of here." And that was me. And then, okay, fine. Sermon's over. We're out of there. I'm good for another week. So I, uh, I did that, but I didn't let people know about my faith because I was a little embarrassed. I thought, okay, they're going to call me a Bible beater and this and that. So I just chill it and, not say anything about that and all that. And man, now what I found out late in life is that whole Venn diagram. A Venn diagram is when you have three circles interconnected to each other. So that means spirit, mind, and body So where spirit and mind overlap, it just means there's some things you can do in there that affect both your mind and your spirit. And where body and mind overlap, same thing. Where body and spirit overlap, same thing. And in the middle, where all three overlap, that's kind of the sweet spot. Hey, you do some of those activities, that hits spirit, mind, and body, all three. So I created that. Well, spirit, mind, and body, everybody talks about. You go on the internet, type spirit, mind, and body, you'll find everybody talking about that. But I put it together in a Venn diagram and said, my kicking ass after 70 is all about take where you are now, take where you want to go, and you're getting your ass kicked now, which is what I was doing. But now I'm kicking ass because I've made that transformation that took me 12 to 14 months. And I can help others do that. But you can't just focus on body, because if you focus on body, then your mind is going to heck. And according to my beliefs and the way I feel, if you focus on body and mind and you don't focus on spirit, what good's it all going to be for if the hereafter comes and this and that, and you're not right with God?
Yeah.
Now, other people don't believe that. I'm okay with that. You can come to my website and YouTube channels and you can just watch the body stuff and the mind stuff and totally do away with the spirit. But I'm just telling you, in my opinion, you need to focus on all three.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that's a perfect segue. And I was just thinking in my head, like, as I think about my transformation, I think of what are the things that are in the middle, as you say, of that Venn diagram. The thing that I think now is most important is spirit. I don't belong to any denominational church. I'm not necessarily Christian, but that was the thing that surprised me the most is when I really changed my eating and started focusing my diet in a different way. My spirit changed. My presence changed. My ability to be around things and appreciate the beauty of the earth and experiences that I get to have spinning on this rock in the middle of nowhere, that increased to a level that I had not experienced before. So that to me, as bad as the body stuff was, and probably worse the mind stuff was, I think the spirit is absolutely some of the most important stuff. So let's get into that transformation. What happened? How were you able to dig yourself out of that hole? Because I'm hearing all these things and I hear like, yeah, you're obese, but you're not that big. Like, yeah, you're pre-diabetic, but you're not diabetic. Yeah, you're on 11 medications, but that could go up to 20 or 30 pretty easily. There's so many people that get to this point and they don't turn it around and they continue going. So what happened? How were you able to start to improve things?
Well, I think really my doctors pushed me into that without them realizing it, because I'm going to a dermatologist, a primary care physician, a cardiologist, a back guy, another guy. I have essential tremors in my hands, and I still have that. And it's gotten better. Like right now, I can hold my hands out. You can probably maybe see a little bit of tremor, but and I'm taking a medication for that. So, but it's very innocuous. It doesn't mess up the rest of your body. So, I, I went to all these doctors and said, I'm on a mission to fix myself. I am not going to be on these meds for the rest of my life. And they were, oh, yeah, you are, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going, no, I'm not. And I said, so what can I do to fix myself? And other than, well, eat less, exercise more, intake versus outtake, how many carbs you take in and your energy levels, start tracking your stuff, and that'll help you. It was the same old BS that you hear, that if that worked, everybody in this country would be slim and trim and a mean, lean fighting machine. And they're not. They're obese and all this other kind of stuff and in horrible health. And so when I went to all my different doctors, and none of them, that's not true. I have a naturopathic doctor I go to, and she told me, we got to really focus on your blood work because your blood work tells the tale of all the stuff going on in your body. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And we do all the blood, and she'd tell me all this stuff. I wouldn't know what it is, so I'd have to go home and research it and go, oh, okay, now I understand why she meant that, because she had me on something and a supplement, and it was because of thyroid. And I go, well, that doesn't sound like thyroid, but when you research it, it's like, oh yeah, it does. So I decided I'm a one-man mission to fix myself. And I didn't know at the time the phrase N equals one. Somebody told me that when I got involved in Dr. Berry's PhD, Proper Human Diet Community. And I went, what is N equals one? And they go, Well, when you do experiments, if you experiment with 100 people and you do a test or something or trial, you have 100 people, the number in the group is 100. I went, oh, okay, n equals 1 is me. I like that. That's cool. So I said, all right, I'm doing an n equals 1 and I'm going to figure out a way to fix myself. And my doctors just kind of laughed like, oh, okay, well, that's good. You have a good time. See you in 3 months or 6 months. So I started down that path, and I have a good friend named Mark who is in the proper human diet community. And Mark was 320 or so pounds, 320 to 330, about 8 or 9 years ago. And he is today 165. So he's half Mark instead of full Mark. And he's literally lost half of his body weight. And at first I thought, man, Mark looks like emaciated or whatever. But what I realized was I was so used to seeing fat Mark that when I saw thin Mark, I it just something didn't look right. So I asked Mark, what are you doing? He goes, man, I found this great community. It's called Proper Human Diet. Dr. Barry, he's this country doctor out of Tennessee. And I was, oh boy, here's another hick, Of course, people call me a hick too, or a redneck. But I said, okay. And he said, and all I do is eat carnivore. I said, what's that? He says, all you eat is meat. I went, okay. And for which meal? He goes, all meals. And I go, all meals? And I said, okay. And I said, I like meat. So that's good. And he says, yeah, but no vegetables. And I go, none? And he goes, yeah. I said, yeah, but I really like fried okra and I really like broccoli and I really like corn on the cob and stuff like that. He goes, nope. And I thought, okay, this is crazy. And I said, but fruit's healthy and all that. Like I love watermelon and cherries and blackberries and blueberries are supposed to be like the best fruit for you and all this. He goes, nope. I go, Mark, all you eat is meat? He goes, well, you can also eat bacon. I said, well, that's meat. And he said, eggs. And I went, okay, well, that's good because I like eggs. And you can have a little bit of cheese sometimes. And I go, okay, good. I like cheese. Can I drink milk? Nope. And so he's telling me all this stuff. I went, well, that is freaking crazy, is what I said to myself. So I started researching diets that were lower in carbs, and I somehow landed in paleo land. And I did that for 2 or 3 weeks, and it was less carbs, yes, but I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. So then I said, well, maybe I need to have even less carbs, not all the way to that craziness, but less carbs. So then I went to keto, and keto, I think, is less than 50 grams of carbs a day, something like that. And felt a little better. I started feeling some things and feeling like I had a little more energy and slept better at night and that kind of thing. And but my weight wasn't coming off. I lost like a pound or two, but I'm like, fat boy, you're at 238. You need to be down around in your 180s or 19. Actually, my goal was to get to 197. I don't remember how I came up with that, but I went, you're not moving the needle to get there. It's going to take you years to get there at this rate. So I said, well, maybe I need to come off some more. And then Mark said, well, if you still want to have an occasional good vegetable, and then I didn't know anything about oxalates and all this other kind of stuff that people talk about. But he said, you want to have a good vegetable? Maybe what we need to do, or you need to do, is just come down a little bit more, bring your carbs down to probably less than 20 a day, maybe less than 10 a day. And I started looking around and go, okay, I can eat a little watermelon and, I can eat a couple other things. And he said, that's called ketovore. And I went, okay, so it makes sense. Keto and carnivore, it's kind of bridging in between. He goes, yep. Well, I did ketovore and I started doing that for like 3 to 4 weeks, I think. I should have logged all this exactly, but I started feeling better. I started sleeping even better at night. My what do they call it at night when you quit breathing and you wake up? Sleep
Apnea.
apnea.
Sleep
That's
apnea.
there you go. I wasn't going and sitting up in the middle of the night, like I had before and all that. And I wasn't snoring. Of course, I never hear myself snore, so I didn't believe it. But my throat was sore in the morning from all the breathing through my mouth and stuff. And so, but I was making progress. And I started seeing the weight coming off, and it was coming off like a pound or two a week. And I go, okay, well, they say if you lose a pound a week, that's pretty steady, and all that. And I wasn't missing the carbs. I really missed the Cheez-Its and the homemade vanilla ice cream. but I wasn't missing the carbs. I'm like, yeah, this isn't bad because Mark just says, whenever you start feeling yourself get hungry, cook you a big old ribeye steak. And I said, well, you mean I could have one for lunch and for dinner? And he goes, sure. And I went, cool. I like this plan. So I did that. And then I said, well, if this is working, maybe if I just go full bore carnivore is what I called it. That was my nickname, full bore carnivore. Then it'll help even more. Well, I went full bore carnivore, and it's like military application here. It's like you see jets. If you've ever been around a fighter base, you see jets taking off, and they take off and they're going like this. And once they clear the runway, they kick the afterburners in, and the jet turns and goes, whoa, and it just goes up out of sight. You hear all this rumble and thunder and everything. And that's what happened to me on carnivore. After being on it for like a couple of weeks, I got on the scale and I'd lost like 8 or 10 pounds. And I went, holy cow. And I wasn't hungry. And all I was eating was beef, meat, uh, beef, butter, bacon, eggs, and a little bit of cheese. Actually, I was eating too much cheese at the time, but I did that. And I was feeling great. And I had a lot of energy. I was going to bed at night within 3 minutes of my head hitting the pillow. I was asleep. And this is what I've mentioned before, maybe not to you, but this is not a take a look and go, you're overweight, quit eating or eat less. Uh, if your legs are hurting, get some exercise. This is when you hear the phrase that the Chinese torture is death of 1,000 cuts. It's 1,000 little cuts until you finally die. This is exactly the opposite. This is health of 1,000 little things that you can do. So it's the way you eat, it's what you eat, it's when you don't eat, it's how long you don't eat, it's exercise. What kind of exercise? Are you getting high intensity cardio for a short period of time called HIIT training, like sprints and stuff? Are you getting low intensity exercise so that you're in the fat burning mode for a long time so your body is burning fat and not glucose? Because when you kick to high, your body starts burning glucose. I'm looking at my personal trainer thinking, oh, thinking, is he going to correct me here?
You're
So
spot on.
it's all this stuff. It's I didn't know what autophagy was until I first felt it. I'd never heard of doing an 18-hour intermittent fast, but I switched over. I started eating 2 meals a day. I go, I don't need to eat breakfast, even though I was always breakfast, the most important meal of the day. So I got a great big bowl of oatmeal or a great big bowl of toasted oats or something like that, and not realizing all the garbage I'm shoveling in my body. But I gave up breakfast. I started 18-hour intermittent fasting every single day. And the thing that's different about this diet than all the others I ever tried, Suzanne Summers, Mediterranean, I did them all. The thing that's different about this is there's no cheat day. You don't cheat. That's like saying, I'm married, honey, but I can go out Saturday night and not come home and it's okay. It's like, no, that doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
You're either married. Well, it may work for a short period of time, but not for a long period of time. And you may lose body parts in the process.
Noted. Okay, I'm writing that down. Thanks.
But yeah, so no, you don't cheat. It's not like I believe in God, but I'm going to go worship the devil one day a week. And that's okay because I'm worshiping God 6 days a week. It's like, no, you don't do that. So this whole thing about the carnivore diet is, buddy, you stay on track and you stick to it. You're headed on a heading of 360 degrees straight north, and you stay on that heading and you don't deviate. You don't fly a plane and fly along for an hour and then go, okay, we're going to go to 50 degrees for 30 minutes and then we'll go back to our heading. It's like, no, it gets you totally off track. It's the same thing here. So back to the death of 1,000 cuts or health by 1,000 little things you do. It's, are you getting carbon dioxide in your room at night? Are you rebreathing carbon dioxide? And it turned out after I got my meter and set it up, I was. My carbon dioxide parts per million or whatever it is on my little meter, all I know is in the red zone. It was up around 1,200 to 1,500 somethings parts per million or whatever. And it's supposed to be way down around 500 or 600. So I found out, open the window behind my bed about this much, open the window on the left side of my bed about this much, get a little bit of breeze through there, and it got chilly. So you just put on an extra blanket. And guess what? It went down to where it's supposed to be. And guess what? I started sleeping better. And also, I saw something goofy on a YouTube channel by a dentist about put mouth tape on your mouth at night. And I thought, that is freaking weird. And he told all the reasons why and the science behind it, not breathing through your mouth, and it helps with da da da. I put it on, and I wear a Whoop strap. This is the love of my life.
Really?
I wear a Whoop strap. It is fun. And you notice there's no face on it or anything.
That's
And
right.
by the way, guys, I'm not getting anything for promoting the Whoop strap. But what you do is you take the Whoop strap and you pull it up on your phone. And okay, well, you really can't see it. But anyway, you get all this stuff. I'm a data guy. And you get all this data about how long did you sleep, what kind of sleep, when were your wake up times, how much deep sleep did you get, which is REM. No, excuse me, deep sleep. How much REM sleep did you get? Deep sleep is SWS, and I forget what that stands for. How much light sleep did you get? Um, all this kind of, and then it tracks you during the day. Did you get? It tracks different things like what's your sleep, what was your recovery, how much recovery, and it has to do with heart rate variability. How much, the more your heart varies, and I thought that's a bad thing. No, it's not. Resting heart rate, you want to watch it lower. HRV, heart rate variability, you want it to go up. And this tracks everything. It tracks my resting heart rate, it tracks all that, and it gives me all the reports I could ever want. And you set a goal. And I said, okay, I'm going to set a goal for 8 hours a night. You set the goal in the computer. It turns on an alarm, and every morning at 6:29 a.m., this little thing goes, vibrates on my arm, and I don't even have to set an alarm. It's like, okay, time to get up. I got my sleep, and then it shows me how much sleep I got and all that. So that's another one. It's the sleep and the kind of sleep. It's the mouth tape to give you better sleep. Uh, gosh, it's fixing your gut. Our guts are so screwed up, most people don't even know that. And I will guarantee you, 80% of anybody ever watching this video outside of our community that already knows this is going to have screwed up gut problems. And they're not going to know it. They're going to think it's their skin or it's this and it's that. And guess what? Since I fixed my gut and started doing all this other stuff, my dry skin that my mother says, honey, that just runs in the family. I've got it. Your grandmother had it. You've got it. You just got to get used to it and put on lots of lotion. Well, that's total BS. I put on lots of lotion, still had dry skin. And so now my skin actually looks semi-shiny. It's not, I can do this and not look like dandruff coming down. I don't have any itchy legs anymore or any of that kind of stuff. Of course, I'm getting into the what's happened, but it's getting your gut fixed. And you do that through taking to fix SIFO, small intestinal fungal overgrowth, which it's very hard to determine without spending bucks. But if you just assume you have it, take turmeric or curcumin, one 500 milligram capsule a day for 30 days. This is just, by the way, this is N equals 1. This is what works for me, everybody. This is not Dr. Lyons telling you what to do. You take that for 30 days and it will supposedly get rid of your small intestinal fungal overgrowth. You make your own yogurt, which is really just bacteria cultures and half milk that you make into yogurt. Take that every day for 30. It's called a super gut recipe by Dr. Davis. And you take that for 30 days and it gets rid of your SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And it's supposed to stay like over by your colon and not migrate up into the rest of your intestinal tract and stomach. And guess what? Most everybody's does. So you got to get rid of all that bad crap because all of us have taken antibiotics, which is what kills off the good stuff and good bacteria. You basically, it's like when you're plowing a field. You don't go out in a field with a bag full of seed and just start dropping seeds in the furrows. First thing you got to do is kill all the weeds, plow everything on there, get your field ready to go. That's what you're doing here. You're getting your gut ready to go, and then you start taking the yogurt for 30 days, and you've killed off the bad bacteria. Then you make your own yogurt, different formulations, all from Dr. Davis, and it will then repopulate your gut with good bacteria. So now you got a good gut biome. And that is like a multiplicative effect through your whole body. It has to do with your skin, your nails, your how you feel. It has to do with your GERD. It has to do with all this kind of stuff. Um, and I gave up TV. Because I am, if you could see, if I could turn this around and show you right over there, all of my books, my entire sofa is filled with books. Most of them are body books. Some are mine, some are spiritual. And it's like I got enough to read for the next 6 or 8 years. And I allow myself one pleasure. I read espionage books, and I have a Libby app on my phone, and I get an espionage book, Mitch Rapp or Jack Reacher or somebody else, and I get them out of the library for free. And every night I'll read. When I'll go to bed 20 minutes early, I read for 20 minutes, which is good for you. It puts you in the mood. And then I turn on my sound machine on pink noise. That's another thing, pink noise. And you can do brown and white. I didn't know all this stuff, but Dr. Berry talked about it one day. So it's like I've determined N=1 for me, that pink noise is the best for me. So I turn on my little machine, I finish my reading, I put my little head down and go to sleep. And so that's my mind splurge, is reading one of those novels. The rest of my mind is spent reading all of this technical stuff that I'm learning about. And it's just great. I just can't get enough. And then spiritual, I changed that. And I just said, Les, actually, I said to God, he didn't reply, but that was okay. I said, God, I've been a very, very poor Christian for the first 70 years of my life. You're helping me turn my life around. If you can work with me and help me with all of this and show me the right direction for the next 70 years, I will be a faithful servant for you. And I got to be careful because I'll get choked up. But so that's what I've done. So now I talk about my spiritual self, and I talk about helping others. And I promised God, I said, the next 70 years of my life, I'm focused on two things. And for those of you who know the Bible, this is from Matthew, and you know where to find it. Love God, love others. And I'll tell you a secret, Casey, it's a lot easier loving God than it is loving others.
This is true. I can confirm.
Especially when I'm in the left lane driving along and I'm going 81 miles an hour and there's a Prius in front of me going 56 miles an hour. And I flash my lights and they don't move over, or a Subaru. It's one of those two. And now Teslas kind of do that. And I just have to, I violated my agreement to love others a number of times, but I'm working on it.
Fair
And
enough.
that's my true test, is the left lane on the high. So I said the left lane the other day at a little Bible study get together. People going, oh yeah, like all the leftist people who have these way left ideas. I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, no, I'm talking about the left lane of the highway, man. And they go, oh yeah, man, those people. So anyway, that's what I'm talking about. So that's the three areas: body, mind, and spirit. And I intentionally wrote down on paper and put body, mind, and spirit. Under spirit, I had like nothing. And then that's when I end up putting love God, love others. Okay, what does love God look like? It involves reading your Bible. It involves being in a Bible study group. It involves prayer. Those three things primarily. And loving others involves letting go of the old list and the critical list and the negative Nancy list. And if people, I usually felt like I'd done so much research. If I knew somebody was wrong, I'd correct them, because I say, that is not right. I've done here's the research. And I got negative reception on that. And it's because I took a self-help course one weekend about 15 years ago. And they go, here's what you're missing, Les. When you're making yourself right, you're making those other people wrong.
That's right.
And I went, oh my gosh, it just hit me. And so now it's hard to do sometimes, but I just bite my tongue and say, well, I've had a different experience, but that's okay. And if they want to ask me about it, go, what do you mean? Then I'll tell them. But if they don't, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I did to turn the car 180 degrees and like go in the other direction. And it's worked beautifully.
Man.
How about where I am now?
Let's hear it. I want to hear all about where you are now. I do want to ask one question, particularly
Yes.
about the spirit. I want to know if you believe this is probably pure speculation because maybe you made these decisions and you made it more of a focus, and that's the reason why you're seeing returns as far as spiritual things go. But I'm going to ask you to speculate. Do you believe that changing your nutrition and eating a carnivorous diet has made your spiritual growth happier and more accelerated?
Yes, that could be a leading question, but and I had to think about that a minute. And yes, eating well, eating a carnivore diet combined with intermittent fasting, combined with long-term fasting, those three things, I'll even leave exercise out of it. Those three things have made a huge difference in my mental and my spiritual peace because I feel so much better. Like when I fast, I did a 3-day fast the first time. I didn't want to quit because I was on this euphoric high. And it was like, and when I'd walk outside, I'd go, this is weird. I feel like I'm floating and my feet are
That,
like barely touching the
yes,
ground. And I thought, did you ingest some kind of a drug or something?
yes.
What's going on? But the autophagy just brings out it's a the brain creates this, forget what the word is, creates something that it releases, and it just gives you this euphoria feeling. And yes, I get that from eating carnivore and getting all of the crap out of my diet, getting all of the carbs, especially the not only the nasty carbs, but just, well, a lot of them are nasty, most of them are nasty, but just regular carbs. Like you go, well, broccoli's good, but you get all that out of your body, and now your body is burning ketones to make its glucose or glucose, whatever it needs. It doesn't need carbs, it needs fat and it needs protein. So it changes the way you feel, it changes the way you think, and your sleep just multiplies that, and then your exercise that you do multiplies that even more. So it's those three things with the body, and then you get a multiplier from sleep, and then you get a multiplier from exercise that you're just going, wild horses couldn't drag me back to the thing. The other day I was at a group dinner, and I brought my own tri-tip, and they go, oh, they started laughing. I go, no, all I eat is meat. And they go, well, what else? And no, meat. So when it came time for dessert, they had a big birthday cake and all that, and they brought me another slice of meat out, and I went, great. So that's what I had for dessert,
Good friends.
and everything. And it's just such a great way of life, and I feel so euphoric that it's amazing.
Wow, I really appreciate that speculation. That definitely relates to the way that I felt a few weeks into going carnivore, that for no reason, everything was brighter and easier, and just this feeling of like gratitude or euphoria. Like you're right, that's definitely something I relate to. So I appreciate that speculation. What is a normal day? Let's just say like a normal day of eating for you, like these days. Like what kind of patterns have you gotten yourself into? What things
Yeah.
do you enjoy as of now?
I've made a really great recipe of egg bites, and so what I do is I have my first meal sometime after 12:30, and usually I sneak it to 1:30 or 2, and then I have my second meal at dinner, uh, and I try and be finished eating by 6:30. So from 6:30 at night to at least 12:30, which gives me 18 hours, and if I can sneak it to 1:30, that gives me 19 hours. Your autophagy effects really start kicking in a little bit at 16 hours, and then 17 and 18 and 19. So every extra hour you can get on that intermittent fasting is really good for the autophagy. And for anybody that doesn't know about autophagy, look it up. It's great stuff. It's your body repairing itself. It's like you have nothing else to do today. There's no sports on. So you go out in the garage, you go, I'm going to clean my garage. That's exactly what autophagy is. It's the
Great,
body cleaning itself.
great analogy.
Yeah. And so I do all that, and then I'll eat egg bites for lunch, or I'll have a little slice of cheese. Maybe I'll eat a little summer sausage, which is okay, not great. I'll have some pork rinds, maybe. I might have a beef stick or two. Uh, Sometimes I'll mix up a can of tuna fish and a little mayonnaise. and a little dill pickle relish, and put that in an egglicious wrap, which is just egg, and I'll wrap that up and just make myself a wrap for lunch. Every once in a while, I'll splurge and cook a steak or a pork chop or something like that at lunchtime. But usually, I'm in the midst of doing all this. I don't want to cook. So I'll do that. And the egg bites, I can make up 2 tins of them. That's 24, and I'll usually eat 4 at lunch or something. And it's eggs and bacon and sausage and cheese and a little sour cream, and it's a little pickle juice, dill pickle juice, and you mix all that together. And it's better than any egg bite you'll get at Costco or Starbucks or anything like
Sounds
that.
good.
And then at dinner, like last night, no, night before last, I ate 2.5 pounds of tri-tip for dinner.
That's
I
amazing.
was
That's a
hungry.
lot. Nice.
That's a lot of tri-tip. But Dr. Berry says eat till you're comfortably stuffed, and I wasn't comfortably stuffed at like 1.5 pounds. Now I probably went a little past comfortably stuffed, but there was just this little bit of tri-tip left, and I said it would be really lonely in the fridge, so I put it in my stomach. And then I have for dessert, I have one of my special bacteria yogurts that I've made that are just delicious. And around lunchtime when I'm doing that, I'll drink about 4 ounces of raw kefir. There's a company out here in California called Raw Farm, because there's only one farm, Raw Farm, singular. And in California, they can sell raw kefir and raw milk. So I'll buy a quart of raw kefir for like $6, but I'll drink 4 ounces a day. And what that does is it puts good bacteria into my stomach. And I will also make myself, I've got a custom bulletproof coffee recipe. I researched all the bulletproof coffees on the web, came up with my own, and now I'm up to full 2 tablespoons of MCT oil. No issues, no toilet issues. 2 tablespoons of MCT oil, a pinch of salt, my electrolyte drops that I put in, a dropper of iodine. And yes, I know how many drops. It's 20 drops of 2% iodine solution, Lugol's iodine. And then I put a teaspoon of inulin. And inulin, for those who don't know, is a prebiotic. And I did a lot of research on this, and nobody says to do this. I'm the only one doing it as far as I know. But it's like you're feeding your good bacteria in your stomach a prebiotic, which is what you put in it to grow the yogurt for the first 36 hours. So I thought if you're growing the yogurt in the yogurt maker, and then later you're eating it and it's in your stomach, wouldn't it like a little more growth? So 1 teaspoon of inulin goes in the bulletproof coffee and 2 tablespoons of butter. You blend it all up, and you think you died and went to heaven when you drink that.
Well, at first, when you mentioned the salt in your bulletproof coffee, I thought, wait a second, this guy is ripping off my recipe. I know this guy must have found, but then with the inulin and the other stuff, like, okay, he's done a little bit more research than I have, so we'll give him a pass for that.
Do you use MCT oil in yours?
I
probably do.
I do. And I hear the arguments both ways. Some people say like it's too much fat and it can hinder fat loss and things like that. For me, it's pure mental benefit. I just know that when I have that, if I just drink black coffee, it's okay. I just get jittery. But like if I have the MCT oil with the butter and the salt in the morning with my coffee, I'm just on. Like I've got clients at 6 a.m. I can't stumble into the office at 8 a.m. and fake my way through a few meetings until like 11 o'clock where I have to see other people. I've got to be on training my clients at 6 a.m. And so that helps me just wake up. I feel alert. My brain is working. I think the research around that is really quite good. And so I love that.
The jury's out on whether or not it knocks you out of autophagy, out of fasting, because it's got like mine has 2.7 carbs, but they're non-digestible carbs. It's like when I add the inulin, it gives you little carbs, but your body can't process it as a carb, so it passes it on through and basically it feeds your gut.
Right.
So I'm basically saying I've got a 0 carb bulletproof coffee that gives me all kinds of good stuff, and as you said, get you going and stuff like that.
Yep.
Now, because I know we're probably running out of time, but where I am now is I'm down to around I was at 183. And I've come up because of this way, my body's basically stabilizing. So I'm now at about 186 a month and a half later. My body fat has come down from 32.5 to 17.1%. I went from the obese range to the athletic range. I just had a DEXA scan done for the first time in my life. to check my visceral fat. My visceral fat is 2.75 pounds, which says you're
Easy.
great. I'd like to get it down to 2, but that's way good compared to what it was when I had Dunlop disease. Um, and what else did I not tell you? My shirts, my pants went from a 40 waist to a 32 waist. So I had to get all new wardrobe. And now I haven't worn 32 waist, Casey, since I was in junior high, like 7th grade. So, because I used to be a chunky boy. Um, so that's great. My shirts, I've gone from a 2XL to an XL to a large, and in some cases, depending on it, sometimes I wear a medium. So between a large and a medium. If I want to look buff, I'll put on a medium.
There you go.
Otherwise, I just wear a large to give me a little bit of comfort. No belching, no acid reflux, no indigestion, no smelly farts, one bowel movement every 2 or 3 days instead of 2 or 3 a day, which the doctor, you said, oh, that's great, man. You're really regular, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, man, if you only were there. No, you don't want that. I'm never hungry. Carbs are basically out of my, no beer for 18 months. Finally, a month ago, gave up my red wine. And I just 2 weeks ago gave away 2 cases of red wine that I'd been saving.
Man. Oh, man.
It just totally, my Whoop strap says, don't do that, because 1 4-ounce glass of red wine, it screws up my heart rate, it screws up my blood pressure, it screws up my deep sleep, it screws up my REM sleep, it screws up all kinds of stuff. The mouth tape, I've totally gone away from any of that other stuff. I don't have any of the, what do you call it when you apnea? I don't have any more sleep apnea. My daughter stayed with me. We were in a hotel room. She and my grandson and me. We had two twin beds, and so she and her son slept in one, and me in the other. And the next day, she goes, "Dad, I slept the whole night." I went, "Yeah, so did I." She goes, "No, you didn't snore. You've never not snored." And so that's the first time I really realized that, because I don't hear myself snore. No pain in my knees. Pain is totally gone. I'm running wind sprints every week now. No pain in my lower back. My back spine guy goes, "That's impossible. You still have lower spinal stenosis." I went, "Okay, explain to me why I'm not limping. I'm not using a cane. I'm running wind sprints. I'm doing all this stuff. I can get down and do push-ups, sit-ups. I can do pull-ups. Tell me how that is if I've still got lower spinal stenosis." He goes, "I don't know, but if we do another MRI, it's still going to show up." I went, "Okay, I'm cool with that. It can show up all of its life as long as I don't have pain."
Exactly.
So that's gone. Knees, back, no cane, no cane. Woohoo! Now it's just a prop or beat bad guys up with. Dryness is gone. I talked about that. I believe, this is very controversial, I believe I got my supraventricular tachycardia in August of 2022 as a result of the spike protein that is in my body from having 2 bouts of COVID. And I took the Moderna vaccine, both shots, and 1 booster. And all 5 of those events put spike protein in your body. They developed a vaccine that uses spike protein to fight spike protein. What they didn't know at the time, because they hadn't studied it long enough, is at least right now, 15 months later, spike proteins are still in your body. So guess what, folks? In August of 2022, I still had spike proteins, and they're supposed to stay in one little spot and behave. Oh no, they found out they've diagnosed heart problems, belly problems, all kinds of stuff as a result of these spike proteins migrating through your body, taking up shop and staying there. So now it's turmeric, it's bromelain, and it's nattokinase every day. I started at March 1st. I'm doing it. And these are just over the counter stuff. It's every day for 3 to 6 months. I've got to zero in on that, but it's going to be at least 3. I may do it more like 6 because there's no effect. I mean, you take them, there's no downside. And I'm trying to get rid of that because I've told my doctors are finally on board. I said, in a year, by the end of this year, I'm going to be off all of my meds. Maybe I'll still take the baby aspirin every day that you're supposed to. I don't know. But I'm going to be off all my meds. And so my heart doctor finally got on board 2 weeks ago and go, "I'll support you on that because you're doing your research and all that, and you're making the decision for your body." And I went, "Nobody cares about me more than me." He goes, "I agree." So he said, "All right, I'm taking you off the dilitazem or whatever it's called right now, and you'll still be on the metoprolol for a while. But if you're going to be off all this in 12 months, I'll support you on that because it's
Great.
your decision. And I went, yeah, baby. So I'm getting my doctors on board. And I think, oh, my trigs are even lower, triglycerides. My HDL is even higher. My ratio, trig to HDL ratio is like 0.4. And as long as it's under 2, you're great. Um, I have high cholesterol off the charts. It's like 340, and my cardiologist was freaking out. And my LDL was like 170. But he put me on this real Dr. Berry, a doctor that I've consulted, told me about this one medication that I could take. I said, I got 5 choices. He says, take that one because it really doesn't do anything. Well, I took that one. It plummeted my cholesterol. It plummeted my LDL. My cardiologist didn't believe it. He said, nope, they got the test mixed up. I'm going to retest you. Retested me, same results. And he goes, it can't do that. So he does a lot of AI research every day, AI assisted research. He came back to me later and went, we found in very rare cases that it does do that in some people, and you just happen to be one of those people. So I said,
Wow.
it's not me, man, it's God. So I believe I'm going to be off all my meds. The only thing I'm struggling with right now is enlarged prostate, which a lot of people, once they hit their 50s, 60s, 70s, they have. And I just haven't done the research yet. I'm on 2 meds right now to shrink my prostate so you can pee easily without standing there for 5 minutes waiting to pee. I'm doing exercise 2 to 3 times a week. I'm doing strength training once a week with a trainer. I did yoga with a trainer for a long time. Now I'm doing yoga on my own. The rest of my training during the week is the low. It's so boring. God, walking on a treadmill at like 3.2 miles an hour, and I can't get my heart rate above 109. So I'm just going, oh, this is wasted time. But I've learned, take along my phone, read a book, read my Jack Reacher novel or whatever it might be. So that's what I do. But the high intensity sprints, man, that gets me pumped. That gets me going. Whoop strap, I told you about. CO2 monitor, yes. Everybody should get a ketones, glucose monitor. Keto Mojo. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, and test that. For my mind, all the books. For my spirit, I already told you about that. And I'm going to the Creation Museum with 50 people from our church, Creation Museum in Kentucky in August. And the Ark Encounter, they built a full-fledged size Ark.
Yeah.
You've seen it?
I've seen it. It's
in
crazy.
person?
No, I've never been there.
Oh my
No.
gosh. Well, I can't wait. So anyway, we're way over. That's me, and I am kicking ass after 70.
Man.
And I hope everybody will go to my website and sign up. I think you can sign up on a website and go to my YouTube channel and sign up and give me thumbs up and sign up and click the bell. I've learned that you got to click the bell so that all my postings you'll know about. And let me know what I can do to help you. Send me an email, and I'm happy to tell you. You have questions about anything you've heard on this video, I am more than happy to respond and let you know and just tell you. But remember, N equals 1. This works for me. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a healthcare practitioner. I'm not giving anybody advice. I'm just telling you the decisions that I made and what works for me.
Yep. Well, we have to keep in mind.
Get me off the hook.
Yes, we have to keep in mind. Somebody made a point at another health conference. I've talked about this a few times, where he asked the audience, what is the most important rigorous study that you can do? And everybody in the crowd rumbled and mumbled, and they said, it's a randomized control trial, double-blinded randomized control trial. He's like, no, it's N of 1. If you are the N of 1, then that is the most important thing. You could read all the research, you could think whatever you want, believe whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it's your life. And as you are past 70 with 70 years to go, and you have retired from your job, but you're not retiring from life, and you've made this your obsession and are so kindly getting this message out there to help people, I think it's absolutely wonderful. Your story is so compelling and so fantastic, and I know that you'll go on to do many, many great things and change a lot of lives. And I'm super fortunate that I was able to meet you in person. So lucky to be able to have this chat and be able to share this with the world. Where would you like people to go to find you and connect with your work? Let's share your website one more time.
Real easy. KickingAssAfter70.com. No spaces. There it is. KickingAssAfter70.com. And right there, that's my brand, KAA70, Kicking Ass After 70. And I would like to close by pointing out this. we live in the land of the free because of the brave. So I salute our veterans that are out there. You deserve it.
Oh, well, that is very kind. We thank you for your service as well. We
Thank you.
love all of our people who participate in the military, and couldn't agree with that sentiment more. And also the name, one more time, it's the same name of your YouTube channel as well, correct?
Yes, YouTube channel. I think you can just type now because Google's found me and everything. So you can just type "kicking ass after 70" and it'll come right up. But technically, I think the way you find a YouTube channel is the @ and then "kicking ass after 70."
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll find it.
We'll tag that in the notes for sure, so people can find that easily as well. But Les,
Great.
yeah, your story is so awesome. I'm so excited for all the lives you're going to be able to transform and the people you're going to help. So thank you so very much for taking the time to be on our show today and share your story. We really, really appreciate you.
Thanks, Casey. Loved it.
It's been
Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio. As always, thank you so very much for listening to Boundless Body Radio. Hosting this podcast is seriously one of the most meaningful and joyous parts of my life. Even after 600 episodes of our show, I still get nervous before every interview that I do. But it does just bring me such joy to share some of my favorite people, the people that have taught me so much over the years, and to invite them on and ask them questions, and then to share that with you, the listener, is a super cool experience. I hope you've enjoyed the content of the show so far this year. I tried to start the year off with a mix of new guests and returning guests, some that are practically household names in the health and wellness space, and some inspiring people that may not be very well known now, but are certainly doing amazing work wherever they are. I'm just so grateful for all of our incredible guests. Remember that you can always go to our website to book a complimentary 30-minute session with us at myboundlessbody.com. On our homepage, one of the first things you'll see is a Book Now button where you can select a time to speak with us about your personal health and fitness plan. We don't have any set packages, products, supplements, or anything like that to sell you. People that do want to work with us simply pay for the time that they want, and that's about it. We've loved chatting with so many of you out there to bounce ideas off each other and try to offer any advice that we can. And seriously, as always, even if you book a spot just to say hello and introduce yourself, we absolutely love connecting with you, the listener, in our community. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel, which is also growing quite a bit, if you want to watch these full interviews and also shorter videos on more specific topics taken from these interviews as well. It's a fun way to interact with people who comment. We read and reply to every single YouTube comment we get, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and leave as many comments as you like. And of course, if you haven't already, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple. It is still the best way to make sure that the podcast gets out to more listeners. It only takes a moment to leave a review, and it's extremely meaningful to us. Cheers, and thank you again for listening to Boundless Body Radio.